Hello! Welcome back to the Coffee Bar.
Charlene Coffee.
Tammy Bardo.
And I'm Megan Jimbroni.
Megan is our guest today. We are starting a series about motherhood and what you thought it would be like and what it really is like. So,
in all different stages.
Yes.
Like, we're going to start at the beginning and we're going to go till nobody watches anymore.
Or we're out of things to talk about.
Out of wisdom.
Yes. So, okay. So Megan has a unique story because motherhood definitely didn't turn out to be what she thought it was going to be. So I will let Megan go ahead and tell her story.
So, yeah, this is Charlie. She'll probably be interrupting a few times, but she's 17 months. And Grace is in the other room. Ouch. Biting me.
She's rabid.
And Grace is 3.
Come here.
And yeah, so me and my husband got married in 2012, and we were like, well, we don't want to have kids right away, so we waited a couple years, and then we're like, okay, let's start trying. So we started trying, and after a year, you know, they say, like, if you haven't gotten pregnant in a year, you go see the doctor or whatever. So we went, we got tested, everything came back fine. It just wasn't happening. And so then we tried some different things, changed my diet, went to a nutritionist, like, you know, all of those things. They did find, like, a polyp in my uterus, so we got that removed. And it still nothing was happening. And so then, you know, you start thinking, okay, maybe adoption, definitely not foster care. I don't want to do foster care. It's too much risk. So maybe private adoption. We'll see. And then it went from private adoption to, okay, well, maybe we can do foster care. And
so what about adoption was like, okay, we can't do that.
Or foster
you
care.
mean or foster care?
Yeah, we'll start with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, adoption was always, like, something that even if I had, like, kids, I would want to maybe adopt anyway, even after I had my own. So that was always something that was kind of in the back of our minds anyway. But foster care, you know, they come into your home and there's a lot more.
I feel like we need to scoot you over.
Scooch
here.
over.
Just
Get close, sister.
Yes. Yes.
Is that better?
Yes.
Is that too close for you?
No,
I won't
just don't
embrace
hug me.
you
Don't
or
hug.
anything.
Not a hugger.
Let's get really close to it.
Yeah, just don't.
What if I breathe on you? Is that weird?
Just don't boob smush me, okay? Okay.
Foster care. Yeah, foster care this is a higher risk of them leaving you. And so that's really hard to swallow. And so we were just like, we don't want that. But even in adoption, there's that risk. Right. Because the mom has the opportunity to change her mind. Not right now. Do you want to say hi?
Look on there. Can you peek on? Come closer to us.
Come closer.
Everyone wants to see you. You want?
Oh.
Come over
back
here.
this way.
Come here.
Grace, come here.
She's just peeking. She's trying to look.
She's just
up.
watching the show.
Yes. Okay. Go ahead.
And yeah, so that's why we were just like,
Didn't know if your hearts could take.
yeah,
Right.
it's hard.
Right.
So then I just started praying, like, because I had a friend who literally a baby got dropped in her lap. Like, her friend of a friend had a baby that they didn't want, and she was like, do you still want a baby? And I was like, that never happens. And so I was like, okay, God, if you want this to happen, literally drop a baby in my lap like my friend. And we got a call in October of 2000.
Well, you might know nitro for you, girlfriend.
Yeah, no nitro, no coffee. Yeah, you can have that. And we got a call in October of 2016, and it was my dad's cousin. And, well, no, it wasn't. It was my dad's aunt. I feel like I need to draw you guys a family tree because it's really confusing. But anyway, through the family grapevine, we found out that there was this 5-month-old who possibly needed a home. So we were like, oh my gosh, here it is. This baby is getting dropped in our laps. Well, then there was miscommunication within the family, and their grandma was like, no, I'm not ready to give up on my daughter, their biological mother. So then that was snatched away from us. So that was really, really hard. So after that is when we started thinking about foster care, and we signed up for our pre-service training classes where you have to go and you sit through 12 classes, 3 hours each, on how to be a parent and a foster parent. It's not fun.
Yeah.
There's a whole class on sexual abuse.
Ugh.
Yeah, it was bad. 3
That
hours.
would be so emotionally
Yes. Yeah.
draining.
But unfortunately, that's the world that we live in.
Yeah. So we did all that. We were in the middle of our home study. So that was October of 2016. Fast forward to June of 2017. We get a call from my grandma. Hey, do you guys still want this baby? And we're like, yes, yeah, we do. It's kind of like we had to and we went into it so much slower because we're like, is this going to happen again?
Right.
Are you going to take her away from us? So we waited for a court date with the parents, and then probably like a month later, beginning of July, we flew out to Las Vegas and got Grace, and she was 14 months old. Brought her back, and this whole series is like what you expected motherhood to be and what it actually is. And I think the longer you wait for motherhood, the more you like build it up in your mind to be this like beautiful, and when it happens it's gonna be great.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Rainbows and butterflies and unicorns.
Right, yeah. Isn't that what it is?
Not screaming babies and toddlers.
Yeah.
I mean, you have
And
a
no,
toddler.
no sleep. And
And issues.
Yeah.
I mean, they come with baggage. Even naturally, your children come with baggage.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And Grace had lived, she was born in Vegas, lived with her grandma, flew to her aunt's house in Texas before she came here that spring because the aunt was going to adopt her. Then flew back to grandma's and then to us in the first 14 months of her life. So she had been through a lot. And yeah, it wasn't a baby that I could get used to and hold and oh, she's so sweet. Grace,
14 months old.
Yes, she was an active toddler, and I was like,
And a new mom.
yes, yeah, it was. And now Charlie's a toddler, and I'm like, this is rough. Babies are so much easier. No wonder it was hard.
But you had all those parenting classes. You should have been
Right,
fine,
yeah,
right?
it should be fine. I don't know what my problem was. What?
Her face is all red.
Yeah, well, you touch her and her face gets red, so she
I'll
probably.
check it out.
Okay.
What's wrong?
She probably just wants something. Yeah, so I feel like I went through something similar to postpartum depression, even though I didn't actually give birth. So couldn't get out of bed, didn't want to get out of bed, wanted to, and I had the option kind of to send her back.
Yeah.
I was like, just send her back to Vegas. But couldn't give her a bath. My mom had to stay here and kind of help me take care of her. I didn't want to feed her. I didn't want to do anything. So I would just sit on the floor and kind of watch her and play with her a little bit. And eventually, and I struggle with anxiety too. So it was like a double whammy.
What do you think it was that you struggled with? Why do you think it was that you went through that?
I think there's a lot of reasons. Grieving the fact that she wasn't my own. And so dealing with that of not resenting her, resenting the situation in so many different ways. Mad at her birth mom that this is happening.
Yeah.
Mad that kids have to go through this, but also just upset that my body can't do what it's supposed to do, and now there's somebody else who can't take care of their kid, all of these things. And then obviously just the day-to-day care of a toddler is a lot of work. And so I don't like change. So that was a huge change, and I think every mom kind of goes through that. You bring this baby home and you're in charge of it, and you can't just do whatever you want whenever you want anymore.
It's not like a puppy that you can put in a kennel.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, mommy needs a timeout. Go live in your kennel.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you leave them at home while you go out and go shopping or whatever. Yeah, so I just think it was a big change. There was just a lot of emotions wrapped up in there. Anger, sadness, bitterness, resentment. I don't know, just everything. Yeah, so that...
Oh, wow. I'm supposed to be loving every minute of this.
Right.
I'm supposed to be loving every minute of being a mom and having this blessing and
Yeah.
Right.
And God gave, like, this is what I asked for, God.
Right. And I think when you get pregnant, you like kind of just have to do it. But with this, like, I chose it almost. And and everybody knew how much I wanted to be a mom. And now I'm a mom and I'm like really struggling. And so you almost feel guilty for struggling because it's like, this is what I wanted.
Right.
So why am I not happy?
Yeah. And you couldn't change that.
No.
You couldn't just wake up one morning and go, you know what? It's going to be great. I'm just going to love this.
No.
I'm going to,
Yeah.
you know, it's going to be the best thing ever because your body was processing something.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, it was part of your healing too.
Mm-hmm. It was.
Yes.
Yeah, and with my anxiety, I always kind of had, you know, I hit that wall, and I always kind of had a way out. Like, somehow we could find a way to almost avoid having to, like, break through that wall. And with this, it was like, I don't have an option. Like, I literally just have to break through this wall.
these babies are depending on me.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So then when we went to get Charlie, 14 months later, Grace had been here 14 months, and then Charlie came. And do you know Miss Beth? Remember Miss Beth? This is her sister.
You came and got pumpkins at my house, remember?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She loves Miss Beth.
Oh.
Every time.
Everybody
We all
loves this.
miss
Every
Beth.
time you're with her, she goes like this. She puts you in a trance.
Yes.
Bye. This is Grace. Yeah.
You are. I love them.
So then Charlie came 14 months later, and you know I was more prepared, obviously, and I just felt like, okay, if that happens again, I know it's going to get better. So I was able to say, like, okay, it might be horrible again, but I know that I can do this now.
Right. I'm not a failure. I'm
Yes.
not failing
Yeah.
at what
Right.
I've always wanted.
Right. But she came, and it was like amazing. She was 4.5 months old. She slept through the night from the like.
That's
I
a game
skipped.
changer.
Yeah, I skipped all of that. And she was so little, like she couldn't even sit up yet.
But she can get into cupboards where there's glassware.
Yes. That's not your cupboard. This is your cupboard. That's yours.
This is for me.
Would you like one of those? You'll have to ask your mommy, okay?
Yeah, you can have one. How about you have the one that you're putting in your mouth? It's Ningxia. You already had your Ningxia today.
So we always do our Ningxia shots on
Coffee
coffee
bar.
bar. So we're just gonna let Miss Gracie
Show everybody how you drink your
drink your
Ningxia.
Ningxia.
What? She's like, wait, what does she have?
Yeah, so Charlie came and I was like, this is amazing. I just love this stage. Like, she wasn't sitting up. You need scissors?
It's open. It's just kind of like.
Okay.
Well, it's really open.
Welcome to the coffee bar.
This is real life with 2 little kids.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, did I get you too?
Probably really good birth control if you don't have kids yet.
But they're such a blessing. I mean, this is great.
We would
This
just
is
love
great.
every second.
Look at her shirt. It says sweet. You know?
Aw, yeah. Well, the shirt says so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Charlie, it was so much fun. I just loved having her, and it was a much easier transition.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, motherhood is definitely it's the best thing and the hardest thing that you ever do. And I know people say that all the time, but
Yeah.
Sure.
So even though you didn't have your own biological children yet, like what was the hardest thing about motherhood so far for you? I mean, aside from going through that grieving process, just like what maybe any mother would experience.
I love my alone time.
I was just thinking about alone time.
And so luckily I have 2 amazing, God knows what kids you need. Luckily I have really good kids that sleep really well through the night and also sleep really well at nap times. She doesn't sleep anymore, but she still goes in her room
She
and
has
rests.
quiet time.
Yeah. And so that gives me an hour and a half to 2 hours every day where I can just
Here, leave
do
those
my-
out here.
do
and
my
then
own
you can
thing.
Go in and watch your bears.
Just breathe some days. Just
Yes, yeah. And do my Young Living business or do my Bible study or, you know, yeah. listen to my music or whatever.
And I think that's real as far as before you have kids, you have a life where you go and do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I'm going to shop today. I'm going to go have lunch. I work. I go to have a job. And then if you're a stay-at-home mom, you just find yourself days on end at home. You know, like.
Your husband comes home and they're like, well, what'd you do today? And you're like,
Everyone's alive.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I am such a task-oriented person, too, that I'm like, if I don't get things done, then I don't feel like I've accomplished anything. And so when all I've done is, like, fed people and changed diapers, like, I'm just like, this was a waste of a day.
You know what the key to that is? At the end of the day, write down everything that you did during the day. Changed diapers, fed them, clothed them, like wiped snotty noses, and then you just check
it all off.
You're like, dude,
I did
good.
so much. Yeah.
I am amazing.
Yeah. But that's another reason why I like the Young Living business, and that's kind of been my target recently, is like stay-at-home moms. Because I feel like, whether they want to admit it or not, I feel like most stay-at-home moms are not just happy just being a mom all the time. Like, you need something that's yours. Or you lose yourself. And I've seen that happen with moms. They lose themselves. So I feel like with the Young Living business, it's like, I get to go and do classes sometimes, and that's my thing. Or I get to go upstairs and do my work, and it's my thing, and it's not anything that involves them. So.
Yep. I like that.
Yeah. We've just recently talked about that.
We know. And actually, like, in the future episodes, we're going to talk about, that's another struggle with moms, and especially young moms, is finding out who they are. Like, I've had so many young moms say to me, I just don't even know what my purpose is. I just don't know anymore. I don't feel like I serve any purpose. So
it's hard to find joy in those moments when it's dark and you feel alone and you don't feel like, I have no reason to get up and get dressed today, or you know what I mean. That's
and not getting dressed is not necessarily a bad thing. Pajamas are good some days.
But some days.
Yeah.
But you get into
if you're doing chronically, there's an issue.
Showering is a must.
Yeah.
Like, even if you only do it a couple times a week.
I shower before my kids are out of bed. Like, even if I hear them, they just stay in there, I get my shower.
So what would be a piece of advice that you would pass on to somebody that maybe was in your situation?
My situation as, like, infertility, or my situation as a mom?
Both. Well, let's do both.
Okay. I don't know. I know this sounds super cliche, but, like, God really does have a plan, because I think if we would have had our own children, and then, you know, these guys are our family, and if they would have called us with them, and we would have had our own, like, 2 or 3,
baby, right?
we probably wouldn't have taken them.
And where would they be?
Possibly foster care.
Yeah.
Separated.
Yeah.
And so, like, I see that now. Sorry. And so I
like
know,
you said, the big picture, God's plan, not just.
And, like, I wouldn't have it any other way. And, like, right now I'm like, I don't want any more kids. Like, I don't care if I ever have my own at this point, at least. Because this is good. Like, I'm perfectly happy with where we are. So I know that sounds really cliche, but, like,
I like
it. It's hard when you're in, because people told me that when you're in the middle of all that grief, and you know, month after month after month, you wait and wait and wait, and they're like, just trust God, like, He has a plan, and you just kind of roll your eyes.
You're like, yeah.
But he really does have a plan, and be open to adoption, be open to foster care. We never went the IVF route, and some people do, and that's fine, but we never went that route just because we felt like there are so many kids that are already here.
Right.
Why would I spend $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on something that might not even, you know, work anyway?
Right.
But I feel like God had already placed that in your heart, though.
Yeah.
Like, that was already something that He determined, and His desires.
Because He knew
He
what
knew
He
the
had for
whole
you.
situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
Yep.
yeah.
I mean, even from a young age, like I remember, I was just fascinated with like orphans. Like I loved the movie Annie. When I would play with my dolls, I would always pretend they were in an orphanage.
Oh,
Like
So
weird
yeah, isn't
stuff
it cool
like
to look
that.
back though and see
Yeah.
that, how it plays a part?
Yeah. So I would just say, yeah, be open and trust God.
so
I don't know.
what about parenting? Piece of advice.
Relax. I'm giving that advice to myself too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I
Relax, and she rips this out.
relax, child. Yeah, I see, especially, you know, new parents or parents with one child and how like they are like all the time on their kids.
Helicopter.
Yes, and now that I have two, I'm like, there's no way you can do that. You can't.
Yeah.
They're gonna get into trouble. They're gonna get hurt. Just make sure they don't die. You know.
Right. No, it's
My-
real.
Yeah.
It's-
My goal at the end of the day is like I want them to know more about Jesus and be alive.
Yep.
Perfect.
That's
Perfect.
good. Yeah.
I love it. Well, I think that sums it up. So thank you, Megan,
Yes, thank
for
you.
Yes,
allowing
you're
us to
welcome.
come into your home and be with your babies.
And I'm always
Sure,
happy to
sure.
talk to whoever, if anyone has questions about adoption, foster care, infertility, parenting, although I'm not an expert yet on parenting. But yeah, I'm always willing to talk to whoever.
So,
Great.
thank you. All right.
We will see you next time.
On the coffee bar.